After my divorce, I didn't have many options. With nowhere else to go besides my parents' place, I decided to move into my late grandfather's old house in a small Alabama town called Chatham. He had passed away a few years earlier and left the property to us, an old wooden farmhouse nestled quietly on 10 wooded acres about 10 minutes outside of town. At first, the solitude seemed like a blessing. After the chaos of the past year, I thought the peace would help me regroup. The house was aged, creaky with wood floors that groaned underfoot, and doors that stuck no matter how many times I oiled the hinges. It was the kind of place that always felt cold, no matter how high you turned up the heat. But it was free, and at that moment in my life, that meant more than anything. The first few nights were uneventful. I spent my days cleaning, unpacking, and organizing. My evenings were spent sitting out on the porch with a beer in hand, listening to the gentle rustle of the wind through the trees, the occasional chirp of insects, and distant calls of owls. No traffic, no neighbors. It was quiet, almost too quiet. Then the noises began. It started on the 7th night. I remember it clearly because I had just climbed into bed around midnight. The house was still, and I was just starting to drift off when I heard it. Whistling, it wasn't a tune I recognized, just a slow, broken melody, off-key and inconsistent, like someone trying to remember a song they'd long forgotten. It was faint at first, and it sounded like it was coming from somewhere in the woods behind the house. My heart rate spiked, but I told myself it was probably a drunk neighbor or a hunter passing through. The next night, the whistling came again. Same time, same jagged tune, but this time it was closer, much closer. I got out of bed, turned on the porch light, and scanned the yard. I even grabbed my flashlight and did a lap around the property. Nothing. No tracks, no movement, no sound. Just the trees swaying and the distant echoes of that haunting whistle fading deeper into the woods. For a few nights, I tried to ignore it. I forced myself to stay in bed, clenching the sheets tightly, staring at the ceiling, pretending I couldn't hear it. But each night, it returned. Always around 1:17 a.m. Not exactly, but within a couple of minutes each time. Like clockwork, that specific timing unsettled me. I started wondering, was someone playing a game with me, watching me? Did they know I was alone out here? Eventually, I called the sheriff's office. A deputy, an older man who I'll refer to as Deputy H, came out to the house to speak with me. He had the look of someone who'd seen a lot over the years. Weathered, quiet, skeptical. When I told him what had been happening, his expression changed. He got quiet, then said, word for word, "Your granddaddy used to call us about the same thing. Said someone was whistling around the property late at night. Always in the spring. We never found anything. Figured maybe he was just getting old, but now you're hearing it too." That shook me to my core. I had no idea my grandfather had experienced the same thing, and the timing, springtime, was the same. Deputy H gave me simple advice: keep the doors locked, stay inside after dark. I started doing just that. Not like I wasn't already. Every night I'd double, checked every door and window. One night, I even propped chairs under the doorknobs like I was expecting something, or someone to try and force their way in. But the whistling didn't stop. In fact, it got worse. One night, I heard it directly behind the shed. It was louder, bolder, like whoever was doing it was standing just outside the window. I peeked through the blinds with my flashlight ready, but saw nothing. Still, I didn't dare open the door. The next night, the whistling came from the front porch. I heard it just outside the door. 3 long notes, followed by total silence, like whoever it was wanted me to know they were getting closer. And then it came from beneath the house. I swear to God, I heard the sound rising from the crawl space, traveling up through the floor vents like someone was crouched down there, whistling up at me. That night I didn't sleep. I sat frozen on the couch, shotgun across my lap, heart pounding in my ears. The next morning, I went into the attic looking for answers. Anything. I ended up finding an old box of my grandfather's journals. And what I read made my blood run cold. He had written about the same whistling every spring for over a decade. He never figured out who or what was doing it, but he believed someone was watching the house. He wrote about sitting up all night with a rifle by the door after my grandmother passed away. He noted it never happened when she was alive, only when he was alone. I called Deputy H again and showed him the journal. He read it silently and didn't say much afterward, only that I should be careful and not open the door for anyone I didn't recognize. That night, I didn't go to bed. I stayed up, shotgun across my lap, sitting on the couch in the dark. And right on time 1:17 a.m., the whistling started again, but this time it came from inside the house, from the hallway. I froze. My blood ran cold. The hallway light was off, and I could hear the whistle growing louder. Closer, footsteps, slow and deliberate. I stood, raised the shotgun, and shouted, "Who's there?" The whistling stopped. I flipped the light on. Nothing. The hallway was empty. I didn't sleep again that night. For 2 nights after that, I heard nothing. No footsteps, no whistling, no knocking. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over, but I was wrong. On the 3rd night, I went to bed shortly after midnight. This time, I left the hallway light on, just in case. At exactly 1:17 a.m., I woke to a different sound, knocking, slow, deliberate knocks, 3 of them. They came from inside the house, near the back door. Then silence. I didn't move. I stayed in bed, barely breathing. A minute later, I heard a creaking floorboard in the hallway. Then another. Someone was walking toward my bedroom. And then, the hallway light went out. I grabbed my shotgun, heart slamming in my chest, and stepped into the dark hallway. At the far end of it, I saw them, a figure standing perfectly still, dressed in black, pale face, watching me. They didn't move. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely raise the shotgun. My voice cracked as I shouted, "Don't move." Then, slowly, the figure lifted one leg, like they were about to run. I screamed, "Stop." In a flash, they bolted out of the hallway and out of sight. Heavy footsteps pounded across the floor, through the living room, and out the front door into the night. I ran after them, aimed into the darkness, and fired, not into the air, but straight ahead, hoping, on some level, I might hit them. "Don't come back," I screamed into the trees. The gunshot echoed off the porch, stinging my ears. I locked the house, grabbed my keys, and drove straight into town. I didn't even take a bag. I slept in my truck in the Walmart parking lot that night. The next morning, Deputy H went out to the house. He called me afterward with grim confirmation. The front door was unlocked again. Nothing was broken, nothing was stolen. But whoever it was had a key. I changed the locks immediately. Within the hour, I packed what I needed and left town, driving to my parents' place out of state. I left the house to my dad and told him to do whatever he wanted with it, sell it, burn it, I didn't care. We took anything sentimental. The rest was sold or left behind. Of course, My father left out the part about the house being stalked for decades, about someone having a key, about my grandfather sitting up with a rifle every spring for 10 years. I still don't know who it was or why they picked my grandfather or me. Maybe it was some deranged loner living nearby. Maybe it was something worse, something older, something patient. I don't know. But I do know this. I haven't heard the whistling since I left, and I never plan to go back.